Hello, universe. Welcome to the Pickathon Podcast, episode 18. I am your host, Zale Schoenborn, and today I am going to take you on a journey of kind of transcendence a little bit, because this is the first episode after Pickathon, and we're going to share that kind of episode of transcendence with our musical guest, the Shivas, who's going to be joining us here soon. And wow, what can I say? We just pulled off something that felt really pretty wild, and the best way I can describe this feeling, if you were there, you'll totally know what I mean. We always say it's impossible to know what we're talking about unless you came to Pickathon. But this year was really something special, like on a level that we've never hit, and I've been reflecting on it a bit. It's this level of kind of transcending kind of the normal life. You're in this kind of space where you're just happy and people around you are happy, and the kind of treating people well. We've always said this, people treat you well back. And so you get to this place where everybody is kind of giving themselves and whatever whether they're just kind of attending and they just want to listen, or they'll be with friends, musicians come in feeling the love, playing one after another the performances of their life, just knock down, drag out. And that feedback loop to kind of people who are sitting there experiencing it are just blown away from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. You can't believe it. You just can't believe that and it got so crazy for me. People were like, "Whoa, what was the favorite thing you saw? What was the favorite?" I was like, "Man, it was the last set I saw. That was the favorite thing," because it just kept happening. I was like, "Oh no, that's the best one. No, that's the best one. No." And I was like, okay, it's this trend. And the only way I can explain it is it's like, you're just in a different place. You're transcending kind of life. You're feeling like this emotional fullness that you just can't normally get, because you just aren't surrounded with that level of artistic and community and just, so many things at once. And hence we call it experiential music festival. But I try to break that down. It comes from a journey. We've always wanted to kind of hit this point in Pickathon. Like, it's been something, but a lot of times these kind of journeys are at somebody's expense. Like, the crew worked too hard. There's just it wasn't enough bathrooms. There's just something that kind of roughs that up. And there's always things to improve. There's no doubt. Well, 2024, we have things we know to improve. But just kind of thinking about it, this is the second year where we kind of really leaned into using the land as kind of like a sundial, where we were inside the woods, never in the sun during the day. And when the sun starts to go down, we start to move out into these kind of big open spaces that are shaded. So hence, you're just never in the sun. We're just kind of using the land, the topography, and then we're like, all these cool places on the farm, we're kind of connecting them as kind of what we call neighborhoods, and we put stages in them and food. And so we have 7 kind of public stages, have like 13 of these kind of neighborhoods. And we really put all these amazing design build teams, are kind of the best of various Portland communities. Like Hoffman Construction was out there. So as Holst, partnering with RH Construction, the Windmill team, which is the Green Anchors, and EMA Architects, Paddock with McFadden Design and Skylab Architecture, Opsis helping us on the marketplace, Make and Mary and the Refuge, just a ton of folks in the Coyote, PSU and the Cherry Hill. I can go on, and I'm forgetting lots of folks. Allison in the curation and her wonderful team. All of these things, we just had a second run at it. And last year was rough on us coming out of COVID, that kind of sense of redesigning, getting crews kind of back in our swing and our swagger. And this year we kind of you could feel it. You could just feel the magic. People knew what they were doing. If you saw the windmill last year and then you saw it this year, it was incredible. Like, it was like a whole festival in itself. There was like 4 or 5 little wormholes that you just could have spent your whole day and never left. And I know some people literally got coffee and didn't leave. and they were not unhappy. It was kind of, the big experience there is like everybody's happy, but no one's having the same experience, and that's the whole point. Like you're spread out, you're comfortable, you're kind of in your own kind of space. You might have been doing sound baths and massages, you might have been with your kids, you might have been just watching something from afar, hanging out with friends in a hammock. It didn't matter. You probably had the time of your life, is kind of my feedback. And it's not just the public. For us, one of the things that like it's really hard putting on a festival and a custom festival like this. This is the hardest festival, no doubt. No, one of the hardest festivals, if not the hardest festival, the Olympics of festivals to put on, because nothing is like you would imagine. There is nothing here that's like a pop-up stage with a truss lighting, and you just pop your light show in and it's all good. And you can take that to any big festival. We're the kind of opposite of that big festival. Everything is art. Everything is this kind of conceptual thing where the paddock was this beautiful 32-foot tall kind of wood structure behind the stage. It kind of blended in with the farm. No custom lighting there, no, but beautiful sound. Like, I mean, we don't compromise, but it puts a lot of stress on crews when you have to build all these things and you're just not like shipping it in, and you're like trying to leave no trace when the festival is over. And this, the whole lead up to this is a year-round process. And this year, it just kind of makes me emotional. It's like it was beautiful for our crews, for the farm, for us, for audience, and our crews were happy, like so happy in a way that last year we had to really struggle to be happy because we knew we were coming back and doing it, and it almost like really broke us in a lot of ways. We love what we're doing, but man, if you can come away from something like this and you actually feel as good of putting it on, the people that put it on, as the audience actually attending, it's so rare. It's not a job. It's like this total community. It's this thing that's very much the spirit of kind of, Portland, the Northwest, the kind of just like thoughtfulness. It goes into almost everything. And it's the best of this kind of community. And, we always hope and want it to be that. And so thankful to everyone that came, everyone that supports this, everyone's concerned about the future. Hopefully we can continue. And we'll talk more about that in upcoming episodes, get more into it. But I just really wanted to say, what a journey, what a transcendent time. Wow. Thank you so much. And, one of the bands that really was part of that and made a big impression on me, and I know a ton of others and have had their own journey together. And then with us, I'd like to welcome the Shivas.
How's it going?
It's going good. So just why don't you guys introduce yourselves, because we have 3 of you today.
3 of 4. I'm Jared.
I'm Kristen.
And I'm Eric.
And we're missing
Jeff,
who's the other guitarist. So, wow. Let's just start. How was your experience in Pickathon this year?
There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
It was awesome. Yeah.
It was good.
Was that your first year?
Yeah.
Or, ever come?
For all
Really?
of us, it was our first year coming.
Mm-hmm.
Was it different than what you thought it was going to be? Did you kind of have expectations?
Yeah, we've always had a lot of friends that have like worked it or played like every year, so we've always heard a lot of things about it, and it's everyone wants to say that their festival is like unique or like different than every other festival. This one, like, really, we've never been to a festival like this. Or at least, in my
that's
experience.
definitely true.
It lived up to the hype.
Yeah,
it's very hand built.
Yeah.
That the Penevers Farm is just kind of like a national, like, people wouldn't think of it. It's just kind of like a national treasure for a festival site,
Yeah.
And it's really kind of grown into a place where, a lot of magic, but also, things happen. Like, bands come, and I hope this is like a big thing for you guys too, is that it's just more discovery of what you guys are doing. And I mean, what's cool about you guys is you grew up here, right? You guys went to high school here. Was it in Portland or where was it exactly with high school?
In downtown Vancouver, the Vancouver School of
Oh,
Arts and
Washington.
Academics. Yeah.
Cool. Is that school still there? Is it still
Oh
there?
yeah.
Yep.
We went back there and played a couple of concerts since then.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I mean, so do you feel like what was that music scene like for you guys, like growing up there? Was it more Portland?
A lot
or
of
were you like
Portland.
always coming
yeah,
to Portland?
Yeah. I think we played our first show in Vancouver, and it was a gig that my dad got us. And then our second show, and a lot of the ones after that were in Portland. There were a few places in downtown Vancouver that we would play a lot, which, helped us really practice a lot. But it was a lot of coming to Portland because I don't know if you know it or not, but, trying to get a lot of people from Portland to come to a show in Vancouver is not the easiest sell. It wasn't then.
Oh, I can 100%.
It wasn't then, and I don't know how it is now, but
Yeah, I have no idea. That's actually a good question. I've lived here since '97, and I've never seen a show. I've never been to downtown Vancouver. I feel embarrassed. I should. I always talk about, because my son's so into history, but like wanting to go to the fort
yeah.
there
Oh,
too.
yeah.
He's been there, which is super rad, cool. Lewis and Clark, historical place. Yeah. So for me, you guys is, hearing your sound kind of in that surf, garage, psych rock, you kind of have had this really, but the influences you guys have had really are not kind of in one line. You've really brought together kind of the best of different, sounds. Sometimes it's kind of really chugging psych rock. Sometimes it's kind of this mixture of more garagey, a little more messed up, sometimes surfy. Has that been an evolution, or have you guys always? Are you feel like what's been the kind of thought process for how you guys have been developing since, I guess, 2008, right? Was your first when you guys really
6
started?
is when we started kind of playing together.
2008 was your
Yeah.
first record.
When we were what 16.
Yeah.
And you were sophomores, right? So, or juniors?
I think you were
juniors.
a junior and we were sophomores.
Yeah. Totally.
That's pretty rad, actually, starting a band when in high school and having it survive, which, but what was what was the approach when you guys first started? What was the idea for you guys?
Just to play songs that we liked
Yeah.
with people. That was really right.
Yeah.
It kind of started as as a school project.
That's
really.
true, yeah.
We recorded I think an EP of just some covers and
And we did write a couple songs for it.
yeah, totally.
But
And
yeah,
then just kind of kept doing it from there.
realized it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So
Playing music for people is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
Most of the time it's fun.
I mean, the fact that you guys are still together, says a lot about you as friends and being able to have those kind of communication through not just the good times, but it's like a marriage. It's it's the hard times, right? Like what's working, what's not working. Have you guys figured out how to manage that? Has that been got good advice for other folks?
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're all driving really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like be in a band with people you genuinely like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
it'll make it a lot easier.
and just prioritizing everybody's well-being and the
Yeah.
well-being of the group is, I think, important. Not doing things that are not fun, and just making sure that everyone's wellness is a priority,
Yeah.
taking care of each other.
Yeah.
And the compromises that brings up, right? You have to because it can't just be, it's going to, for somebody's well-being, it's going to be slightly different. It's going to be there's going to be compromises. And that's
Yeah.
if you can pull that off, right? That's not necessarily an easy thing to do. It's because people can get really headstrong and stuck, and that can be the end really quickly, right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah,
Yeah.
you don't see many bands that start off and kind of have that arc that you guys have had, and staying together with the original members pretty much, minus your brother, right, who used to be in the band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I know. Yeah, another member of the band that's not with us today. But yeah, my little brother Colby. He was, I think, 11 when we started doing this, and then
No way.
I think he was 12, maybe 13 when that album came out.
Yeah.
And he played drums on the first 2 albums?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, I got distracted by that.
No. I'm totally interested. And that's actually, I mean, you guys were graduating from high school. He's still in high school. So
Yeah.
was that actually why I had to leave? Is because you had to start touring, or?
Well, not really. It was more he had stuff that he had to start doing. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
he turned out he wasn't just good at the drums. He was also really fast riding a bike. So he started going all over the world doing that. And we're like, man, I think, I don't think he has enough time to do school and all this and drums. And what I was thinking about before, when you were talking about us being together for so long, I feel like at a lot of points in the band, like personal chemistry has been more of a guiding factor than like how someone plays or like anything musical.
Yeah.
It's been more of a like personal chemistry thing than
For sure.
I mean, we all like playing music, but like the thing that's guided more who comes in and out of the band has always been more about interpersonal stuff than
Yeah.
than anything musical. We all like the same stuff, and like creatively, we're all very on the same page, I feel like.
And that kind of extends to like people we record with, like people we work with professionally. It's like if they're not someone that we would want to hang out with, it's like
It can be hard to work together.
Yeah, totally. Like yeah.
And so
like any kind of crew and stuff.
Yeah. So like when we needed a new drummer, kind of the first impulse was to turn to the people that were just part of our close group. Kristen was already playing with the band, playing keyboard, like synthesizer, and doing a lot of singing. And we're just like, hey, why don't you learn how to play the drums? We can teach you some beats, and that's all you really need to know. Actually, that happened a few years before that when Eric went from playing a bunch of percussion in the band to being the bass player. We needed a bass player. Our bass player, had other things he had to do, and like, why don't you just learn how to play the bass? I'll show you the pentatonic scale, and that's, that'll get you started, and here we are. Same thing with the drums, and it's like been the best.
Absolutely.
The best move we could have made musically, in my opinion, too, because the band stayed together. Whereas you can get, whoever to play that's hot shit or whatever, and if people have an ego or have a hard time sitting in a van for a really long time every day,
Yeah. That's like an intentional way to make a band versus like trying to make it a formula. Right? Like, let's just go get the best drummer out there and looks good on paper.
Totally.
I mean, and not to say that anyone doesn't turn into the best drummer or something, but I think just the approach, that's a very different approach than, a lot of bands who are trying to like, do that as either some part of their life, right?
Yeah.
Coming together, like finding folks that you click with as a kind of the first prerequisite. Because, so many bands, and I've been in bands too, like that's where things fall apart, right? Is that's kind of like those personal relationships end up just sabotaging all the creative relationships, right? All the creative relationships. And if the interpersonal stuff is healthy, you can kind of you can get to a much better place creatively, because you can end up having those kind of hard, you don't have the things that block you, right? That could come up as kind of creatively you want to be in this place, and you can see it and everyone can feel it, but just the weight and the drag of the interpersonal can just like blow it up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so, Kirsten, did you learn to play drums in the band?
Yeah.
Is that what? Really?
Totally. What it was like.
And you learned to play bass, Eric?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like,
just like, hey, let's want to be in the band and learn. Just so, what did you do? Like, what did you guys just start like taking lessons, or just started playing, or?
No, we just kind of I think for both of us, we just started learning Shivas songs.
Yeah.
And then that's also a good way to learn how to play an instrument is to book a show, and then just like
Yeah, then you gotta
the
do it.
pressure's on, you gotta figure it out
Uh-huh.
because it's like 2 weeks out. So yeah, we just like learn a set and then keep adding songs and just kind of Jared is you've been taking guitar lessons for a very long time, so he taught us, he taught me a lot, at least. Yeah.
And my brother Colby had been taking drum lessons from a guy who seemed like, just really teaching him a lot of interesting stuff, and picked up a lot from him. And we're just like, it's all, there's 12 notes, and there's, how many beats in a measure. It's pretty simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. Like, we can start, simple.
Yeah.
Yes, there's three chord changes, maybe.
Yeah. On a good song.
Pentatonic.
If we're lucky. Sometimes we try and make it more complicated, and we're always just shooting ourselves in the foot.
I know it. That's cool. And so, who writes all the songs in the band? Do you guys share some of that, or what's the approach these days?
Kind of all over the place.
Yeah. A lot of times it'll be like Jared will come to us with like the skeleton of a song, and then everybody just kind of adds like their parts and stuff, and
or Kristen too.
Yeah, and Kristen as well.
The last album we did was pretty 50-50, I'd say, in terms of like, or actually I think it was like 13 tracks, and you wrote like 7 or 8 of them or something. But regardless of who it is, and there's a bunch of songs where Eric will come to us with some like sick riff, and we're like, oh, the song just writes itself from that point. But usually if someone can come up with a good idea, whatever that might be, like a progression or a whole song or whatever, we kind of run it through the filter of everybody else, and then that's how it winds up.
And when you guys, when you started, like 2006, you're sophomores, juniors in high school. Your brother's 11. He's, what is he? What grade is he in?
Is that right? Yeah, he would be 12. Sorry, 12 in 2006.
But he's still, like, what grade is he in? He's like 6th grade, right? Like 5th or 6th grade?
Oh, yeah, probably 6.
Yeah.
Maybe
so
7.
Awesome.
At least 6th grade, because he was going to the same school as us.
And we did a tour. We booked ourselves a 2-week West Coast tour, and he had a bike, like a racing accident a few days before it, broke his collarbone. So he missed the first 3 shows, but he did the last week and a half with his collarbone having been broken like a week ago.
That's full rally there.
Yeah.
That's and like who's driving you on this 2-week tour?
On that one, my parents, they were, and they wanted to come along.
The minivan, or did you guys?
We couldn't get we couldn't get a hotel room at that point. No one was 18 or anything. Yeah. I think we just like took their car, and then we did it again the next summer, and that time you were in the band, and we drove ourselves.
Yeah.
That was 2007.
Yeah, right. Is that right?
That we drove ourselves.
Wait, no. Sorry.
2009.
Yeah.
I got my timeline.
So 2008, you guys did your first record. Where have you gone to, right? So that was, and that was self-released. You guys self-released that?
There was a label in Germany that put it out called World and Sound. It was a little label. They put out some of our friends.
Super cool. Actually, it's an interesting label. They have a lot of really wild, I think, don't they have a lot of international music too?
A lot of reissues, right?
What's that?
A lot of like reissues.
A lot of reissues.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And so that was your first record, and then so 2009. After that, you guys did that second tour. Kristen, you joined the band then.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Totally. Long time ago.
I know. This is like, and then you had was it the same label you released Freezing to Death? Was that the same?
No, that was a label based out of New York, at least at the time, called Closet Trekkie Records, that our friend's band, the Mystery Lights, were on. And so that's how we heard about them.
And they just introduced you and totally down to release?
I guess. It was a small pressing of CDs. That was pretty much it. It wasn't
Oh, really?
It wasn't anything. And like, put up for streaming, but it wasn't like we pressed like a ton of records or even.
Yeah, I mean, you're still getting started, trying to find that kind of buzz, right? Like kind of, um, and I think it like somewhere after that, you kind of met Calvin Johnson from K Records. Was that like a meaningful relationship for you guys?
We got a lot of stuff done. They had a great studio. It was very nice of him to like bring us in there and record us. I think we cut 3 records there.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
And went on tour. Did a tour with Calvin and a bunch of other people. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff done.
Yeah.
I mean, that record, 2013 was the first one, right?
Yeah.
On K Records. Then in 14, yeah, you know what to do, and then the third one was Better Off Dead, right? It's 2016.
Yeah. First one of those we didn't actually record there. They just put it out, but we did record a set.
You did it in Revolver.
Yeah, with Colin Hegna, who I'm sure you know, because if
Colin.
I remember right, he was involved in Pickathon. Like I said, this was the first year we went, so I don't know, but
Yes, he's been.
But yeah, Colin's great. We just did a bunch more recorded. Like we were just putting out songs a few weeks ago that we recorded with him at the New Revolver. So yeah, we didn't record that first one at K, but we did cut an EP there, which I guess is the third one I was thinking of. But they did put out 4 releases total.
Yeah, and you were also putting out some of those on cassette, right? On Burger.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I was just trying to think. Cassettes had a heyday there in the middle 2010s. Are they still having a heyday? Are people still Are you guys still releasing cassettes?
We still release cassettes for sure. Not through Burger. Burger's not having a heyday anymore.
No.
But yeah, of course we still put out cassettes. They do pretty good. People listen to them. I listen to cassettes all the time.
I know. I mean, I always think of the vinyl, but the cassette's like the other one. I have closets of CDs that I never listen to. I have just boxes of cassettes that I made religiously of mixtapes that all through college, I just labeled them and shared them and copied them. I was like, oh, you got to listen to this. I used to annotate a radio story I did at the University of Kentucky for like 6 years. It was crazy. Ever listed. But I always think about the cassettes. Like cassettes is a kind of percentage of like, do you release like a couple hundred cassettes, like 1,000 cassettes? Like what is a cassette release?
Usually like 250, maybe 500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on, if we had like a few tours back to back, maybe we would do 500, but usually more like 250. The nice thing about cassettes too is you don't have to, with records, buying like 2,000 of them versus buying 500 or even more so 250 of them, you get a huge price break. The difference between 500 and 1,000, pretty big price break.
Oh yeah.
So you're tempted to buy 1,000 or whatever, or more, I guess, if you can. But with tapes, not quite as much. You could get 50 of them, or we can make them right here where we're sitting, if we want to.
Oh yeah. I still have my twin tape deck.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
Right there.
Yeah, there's one right there. I don't think I can turn the computer, but
Do you do 8-tracks too?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's one right here.
Really?
Again, I don't think I can turn the computer.
But do you release 8-tracks?
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Well-
we don't do everything on. 8-track cassettes.
Yeah. No.
Oh
Yes.
hell no.
Like,
No. Cassettes are cool, but 8-track. 8-tracks just aren't as practical,
Yeah.
in my opinion. The regular cassettes kind of solved the problem with 8-tracks, which is like they cut out in the middle of the songs because there's 8 tracks on there. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Right?
And then how about CDs? Do you release CDs anymore?
Yeah, because some people still listen to them, but that number is shrinking.
Yeah.
And I think before too long, we probably won't, is my guess.
Yeah, what do you think we're going to have left? LPs and cassettes and streaming?
Yeah.
I guess.
I don't know, it's weird to think, because in order, some of those things were like going to be the best, CDs were not going to degrade, right? And now that kind of golden format totally feels, really it's LPs. I don't collect cassettes, but I don't see LPs dying out anytime soon. But I think it still feels like a heyday. Like I think last year was the first year LPs fully outstripped everything else but streaming.
Yeah.
which is pretty hilarious.
And interesting in a world where streaming pays so little, and like, you know, people do a lot of times rely on selling physical formats. So it does help to know what is popular, what people are into. And records do sell for more than CDs do, or cassettes for that matter.
And they truly sound better. I actually totally got my new record player a couple years ago and have been back on the bandwagon. So after this kind of 2016, you guys started recording and releasing, I think in 2019, Dark Thoughts with Tender Loving Empire, like local Jared,
Yeah.
right? Jared Meese here, who's an incredible human being himself. And I'm sure you guys agree.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what made you choose to go to Tender Loving Empire? What was that connection?
You know what I think happened was, well, we had an album and we were looking to put it out, and a friend of ours worked there, and Jeff played it and they liked it, and they said, come in and, you know, let's talk about it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sounds good. Pretty casual.
Yeah.
It's been great.
I mean, they've turned that whole empire, you know, it's like a store now. I mean, they definitely have the cultural kind of record label side, but I bet you they sell, because of that store, I bet you they sell a lot more records because of, you know, for the people on that label than you would if you weren't on, you know, in that store, right? Like I think it's like a Portland's version of Sub Pop in a way.
Oh yeah.
You know,
It's in the airport now. You know, it's like
Totally.
yeah.
do you guys sell a lot of records through that store? Is that a real thing? Am I just imagining that?
We sell records there. I mean,
I don't know how many.
a lot is
you know.
always a relative question.
Yeah.
It is a relative question. Yeah, some. We'll say you sell some records.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, Jeff is at work right now, so that tells you, you know,
Yeah.
there's the threshold.
So Jeff.
I mean, we all
Jeff
work.
Actually,
He just happens to be
when
there
you-
right now.
When you said Jeff, you meant Jeff City, your friend,
Yeah.
another one of your friends, right? That did he learn to play guitar too? Or did he?
Oh yeah, I totally taught. No.
No, Jeff. Jeff has had a bunch of bands throughout.
Yeah.
You know, and we've always been. He went to the same high school as us.
Yeah.
And he was like my little sister's friend. Is kind of how we started interacting. But he's been around for the whole time, and so that was another one of those things where it like felt really natural to get him in the
Yeah.
band, just because
But-
he was already hanging out.
He didn't join the band till like what, 2017 though.
Yeah.
Wait, 18.
Right. After actually another one of your friends, right? Rob Manor.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So, and did he also go to your high school?
No, but his cousin did.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so in 2019, you guys recorded and then kind of COVID hit, right? Like, I'm sure, you know, for us and for lots of bands, 2020, things really got weird and radically changed us in ways that maybe I would say it's for the better now, but it was just super strange and hard for a long time there. Like scary maybe is a better word. Like what the heck are we going to do? What was that like for you as a band? What happened when COVID hit?
Well, you know, we had like, I think like the next year of our lives like kind of planned out at that point. Like just as far as like tours, like we were gonna do some like tours in Europe and the US kind of all back to back, and then it seemed like there was just one day where everything got canceled. You know, we were like set to go to South by Southwest like in a few days or like a
Yeah.
week or something, and then it was just like
We had our plane tickets.
we
were ready to go.
canceled that. Yeah, we had plane tickets for Europe. Like everything just kind of was canceled all in like one long day. So that was pretty, you know, and Jeff and I had just moved into a new house together. We had just gotten back from tour and moved in. So it was like a pretty rapid shift in like the trajectory of our lives and all at once.
Yeah, I mean that was right in March. And Pickathon, we had just started selling tickets,
Yeah.
sold like half our tickets, spent all that money
Oh, man.
because we spend
Yeah.
money year round
Yeah.
on our staff, and we're like, oh crap, what are we gonna
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
It's like I can imagine that having all that kind of income you're planning on moving into a house,
Yeah.
having to go away. And so, what did you do after? How did you spend COVID as a band?
We spent a lot of time at home for the first,
Yeah.
just doing nothing for the first long part of it. And then we ended up recording a record.
Yeah. The first 3 months we were working pretty hard on like songwriting and stuff, or, going through voice memos and all that shit. It's like tours canceled, albums on.
Yeah. Totally.
So from March through May, we wrote an album. And I guess in June we did pre-production. Beginning of July we started recording it. And then that one's the last LP that's come out.
Feels so good, feels so bad.
Yep.
Did I understand here correctly? Did you guys actually get involved in something here locally too, like something in Portland?
Yeah, we actually, all three of us did start work at a houseless shelter downtown, like an emergency warming winter shelter. And I think we all worked there for about 6 months, right?
Yeah. It's only open half the year, so we did one
Yeah.
season.
It was in the old Greyhound station downtown.
Wow, and was that 2020?
Yeah. So that winter of like 2021, like fall 20, winter 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, how'd that impact you guys when doing something pretty intense like that?
That was pretty intense.
It was, yeah. It was a cool experience, but it was definitely, I've not had a job like that before or since. It was, there was a lot of really cool interactions, but also a lot of just like really intense, like, vicarious trauma kind of stuff. And, yeah, it was a tough job. Very, very rewarding, but like really, yeah, taxing as well.
Tough. I feel like maybe even the toughest part was just like nonprofit admin.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that was,
That's
I mean, not to editorialize here, but
No, but what do you mean by that? What?
just like, management and things like, it's easier
Yeah.
to run a shelter when someone who knows what the protocol is like there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
A lot
Yeah.
of like putting out fires.
Yeah. It was like running from
constantly.
fire to fire for sure.
Yeah.
It was also like that was a pretty intense time for downtown Portland and for like the houseless community
Yes, it
there.
was.
Yeah.
And, we were pretty constantly told like that this thing has never happened. It's very unlikely to happen. And it would happen. And then they'd be like, wow,
Yeah.
this shelter at this time is like all of the things that never happened were like all kind of just happening constantly.
Definitely like several things that they said was like unprecedented
Yeah.
going down
Yeah.
when no one else was there except us. I mean, you're looking at the morning shift, like over half of the morning shift right
Yeah.
here.
Oh man.
8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you guys were supposed to like solve it, like everything.
Yeah.
Here
I
you
mean,
go.
I'm not saying that but
Yeah.
there were several days of the week where there was no manager or supervisor on shift.
Yeah.
And
Or,
we're like, there was like over 100 people, over 100 participants in the
Yeah.
program. It was like a big physical space and a lot of people coming in and out.
We're calling ambulances and like, doing like some pretty intense stuff.
Making some like serious calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, you feel like you maybe actually did something that maybe actually helped somebody a little bit, and that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that's what's up.
For sure.
That was the best part.
Yeah, you're hanging in there through the kind of like and I mean, the bullshit of it, right? And kind of getting to the things that, because there's, when you do make a difference, it's kind of transformative, right? It's just like feels like holy shit, all of this is worth it.
Yeah.
This person is responding or whatever that situation is, that you're able to kind of help manage. It was that was like a really intense time, like per Portland. I feel like it's still kind of reverberating,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because we're just trying to all solve something that was felt so important and crazy, and I think he said it felt like there wasn't anybody with a master plan or like taking notes on improving it, right? There was, it felt like a lot of like throw bodies at it, but like you said, then the admin management kind of the side of that, right? It can really burn people out. So like you could have really intensely good people. There could be processes that get better, but if you're not like working on that side of it, right? Making it better, or like don't repeating the same mistakes. Like in the festival world, like I always say, the reason how we partly got to this thing of Pickathon is that we made a ton of mistakes and we take some notes on those and we don't try to repeat them, because they can be some really bad experience mistakes that could, like, folks could choose not to come back. They're like, I don't like that. That's not. But if you kind of work on them, like, again, it's that kind of that chemistry and that you can kind of get to someplace. Yeah. I mean, I can really sympathize with what you guys are saying there. And it feels a lot like, and was that why did you guys last 6 months just wasn't like making progress? It just felt like burnout?
No, it was it's only open in the winters. It's like an emergency winter shelter, so they do it every year, but it's like a whole different crew every year and stuff. So we're like temporary workers. So our jobs just kind of came to a natural end when the spring hit. Also, I mean, it was still pretty fucking cold out when they closed that place too. It's like early April.
Oh man.
In Portland.
Yeah.
It's not like summertime by any means.
But that's just like the calendar when they close it.
I guess. Or maybe the funding. I have no idea.
Did you ever think about doing it the next year, or was it just back to music? Actually, it wasn't music yet. What almost music.
It was at the end of 2021 when it would have opened again. We were on tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when Feel So Good, Feel So Bad came out.
For that little brief window before they closed it back.
Totally.
Down.
We were like almost all of it. And I mean, we were taking every precaution we could. We were, constantly taking COVID tests and like wearing masks on tour and like shouting through masks at the merch table after the show, which sounds counterintuitive, but it was just like, I mean, there's no like real protocol. We were just kind of doing whatever we could to trying to get people to mitigate. Check vaccine cards and like all across the country. Oh man, that even sucked. In states where that was illegal. Like, what's that? Even in like places where you weren't allowed to. Oh yeah. Do that. It was
you're navigating all of that.
That was a strange time to be on tour.
Yeah, we almost opened and then we had to shut down again in 21, and then finally 2022. Yeah, that was just it sounds like you guys had, I mean, was that experience at all in that kind of nonprofit and that house in downtown? Did that impact anything like for you guys musically? Did anything, songs or anything come out of that?
It really inspired me to do as much music as possible to try to like just go on tour and do that. Yeah. I mean, and it's nothing about that job, but I feel like every time I get some job, it's like really motivating to like do a bunch of shit and get the fuck out of there. Yeah. Not that,
to make music your thing, right? To make that the career.
Which it always is on and off, but there's, lulls here and there where we can't be on tour all the time. And, we don't really get paid to record, so I mean, not like hourly or something,
Right. I mean, touring's where it's at, right? It's just like for us, it's the kind of the festival. We try to do all these other things to kind of make the size of Pickathon make sense, but it comes back to the festival. We have a really involved YouTube channel. We've tried all these things like to scale, keep Pickathon, not blow it out, because one of the things that we do that's really dumb, but it's kind of core part of the experience is we just don't overpopulate it. It's really, I don't know if you probably noticed, but there's far fewer people than that place could actually hold. If we did a normal festival, that would be like 3 or 4x. Oh my god! You're just jammed in there, right? That's just how it goes. Oh my god! I know, but that's how festivals go.
I believe it. I believe it. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, thank you for the taking it easy on that, because it doesn't feel crowded. I mean, it feels like there's people there, obviously, but it doesn't feel overwhelming in that sense at all. But thinking about what it would be like with 4 times more people there. It would be a different experience for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but it's that's where Pickathon stays alive. You know, like we're working bands is like on the road. It's hard to find other things for us, like recordings, YouTube. We have one of the largest YouTube channels in the freaking planet for like festivals, and YouTube doesn't give us squat, right? It's just terrible. It's the worst business model. And we put so much love into that, partly because we really just want the art of it. We really want to have all this music kind of bend pop culture, like infect it in some weird, cool way. Because, I mean, I don't know if you noticed this year, one of the, really glorious things was there's so many teenagers and young people there, right, at Pickathon.
Yeah.
And partly it's because their parents dragged them as kids. But we're also, my hope is like all of this music, spanning from like death metal to soft folk to, rap to, indie rock. It all works together, right? It's all great music. And like my hope is that folks hearing your guys' sound and just everybody kind of at the top of their game really creates space for a much healthier music scene, right? Like not just what's being spun on social media and the algorithms of Spotify, right? Because I think there's a lot of amazing stuff you guys are doing and other bands that we brought. And thinking of what you guys do, my hope is that this festival kind of helps kind of push another level of like venues for you guys on the West Coast, because that's a lot of times of what happens from Pickathon. So
it definitely doesn't hurt the resume, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely is very, very cool.
It's cool for I think the people that saw you get too. Like it's I've been hoping you guys had fun there.
Oh my
but
God.
I know that
Absolutely.
the stories I've already heard of seeing you guys in the Lucky Barn, each two blew minds. There was such a packed house on the backside of that barn. It was like 3 times the size of the barn, sitting outside watching you guys. And it was just really so much buzz from both those sets that you guys played. So it was really cool. It was really awesome. And like hearing your story and hearing the kind of chemistry of what you guys have been able to do and kind of stay positive and healthy as a band and creative and kind of have these kind of life experiences, feels a lot like, I want to celebrate you is like celebrating us, this kind of connecting it all back together is kind of like journey, right? This kind of, you guys said chemistry. I think that's also a kind of great way to put it. It's like people like, it's hard being in a band. It's hard doing these kind of purpose-built creative organizations. And it feels good when it actually kind of clicks. It's because it's so much hard work, right? It's not just, it didn't just happen.
Yeah.
And, hats off to you as a band for having that dedication, because it shows. And now here you are, like really in a great place, and because of it. And thank you for your music, and thank you for coming on today. It was really great having you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully have more of this in the future. We'll get to hear more what you guys are up to. So hey, I want to thank you, everyone. I want to say big shout out to the universe again here. This has been the end of episode 18 with the Shivas, and hope this journey and talking about our journey inspires other folks to kind of like put that work in, be into it, because the payoff is incredible, and there's not anybody going to be out there in the universe to like hand it to you or pay you to do it. Unfortunately, you're going to have to love it and go through it to get somewhere meaningful, but it's durable if you can do it. And hope everyone takes that away. And we'll see everyone next week for episode 19. Thanks you. See ya. Woo. Bye guys.
Bye. Bye.
You've been listening to the Pickathon Podcast. Our podcast is produced by Zale Schoenborn, Tanner McCullough, and Evan Throckmorton. Our artwork is by Travis Bone, and additional support by Ryan Stiles. The music you heard in this episode was by our guest of honor, the Shivas. The songs included were Undone, and On, and the one we're riding out on right now, their cover of Shocking Blues Love Buzz on their latest EP, Covers Volume 2. Thank you to the whole Pickathon family, and like Zale said, we'll catch y'all next week.